Thank you, Caroline. It's the baby version of Caroline, yes. And everything's gone very loud here today. I shall turn me down. Up next, it's Postcard from Poprad on Radio Tatras International. Your station of the stars, 1300 CET, 12 noon. It's the only place to be for a debate. Yeah, you got to get it off your chest. This is Radio Tatras International. The time is 1300 CET.
Hello, this is Peter Dixon. You know, voiceover man. The voice of The X Factor, Britain's Got Talent, Live at the Apollo, All-Star Family Fortunes, Mr. and Mrs., and a ton of other top TV teletainment. You're listening to RTI.
Thank you, Peter. Wonderful as always. Gosh, I'm just so jealous of that bloke. I wish I had a voice like his, because I'd be happy. This is Postcard from Poprad on a Friday, as always, afternoon. Happy New Year from Denmark, says Fleming. Hello, Fleming. Nice to have you with us. Good afternoon, good evening, Rachel, Dave, Eric, and not Henry today. I don't think. I'm looking over, but I don't think he's there. What's up? What's up, RTI? Axel in the house. Good day to Eric and Dave and Rachel. Of course you are. Hello, Dave.
Hello. Happy bubble bath day.
I knew you were going to go down the toilet from the minute you started.
No, I'm sorry. If you're flushing bubble bath down the toilet, there's something gone terribly wrong there. You're supposed to put it in the bath.
All right, yeah, but I just get a sense from this that the conversation's going to go one way.
I just hope it doesn't go the way that Rachel and my conversation went before we went on air. Otherwise, we're going to be banned in the next 5 minutes.
Ian Gilligan says, oops. Not surprised there. Mitchell says, hello all. Hello, Mitchell.
Hello.
Hello, Rachel.
Hello, Mitchell.
No, well, it's your time to talk.
You can say hello to all of us now.
Oh, hello. I've got to tell you a spooky story. First of all, I'm a bit sad because it was 3 years ago that I was with you, Uncle Eric.
It was.
And it doesn't look like I don't think I'm coming back anytime soon, but I will.
I did like the one that Robbie put on Facebook, which is, we'll come and see you again.
Yes, and, we'll meet again.
Don't know where, don't know when.
No singing.
Oh, sorry.
I've got to tell you something spooky that happened to me, and I think you will find this spooky. Dave will immediately click on the internet and figure out why it's so spooky, but this is why. There's a guy who sent me a friend request on Facebook. Now, my rule with friend requests on Facebook is that unless we have mutual friends and I can figure out why you're trying to add me as a friend on Facebook, I won't add you. And that's just because it gets unmanageable and I don't feel like talking to people who are clearly just strange and I don't know them.
Yeah.
So I get this friend request from a guy called Ian Tillett.
Mm-hmm.
And mutual friends, you, Dave, and a guy called Paul Andrew.
Uh-huh.
Now, Paul Andrew is a guy that 3 years ago Robbie and I were sitting down to have Christmas dinner with. It's Robbie's mum's nephew.
Oh.
Nothing to do with radio, nothing to do with anything. And I'm thinking, there's a lot of people in England. I remember because I was counting them when I was there. And how on earth does that happen? Is that not spooky?
It is a bit, isn't it?
Really, it's because it's a village. Facebook is a village, but how do these two people know each other? And people might say, "Well, ask him, Rach," and I've been meaning to, but every time I do that, I get a bit distracted by something else. You know how Facebook is; you get distracted by something else.
Something goes on all the time, doesn't it? Just a quickie. Hello to Val, and hello to Akbar. Yes, it's Akbar, and an Aaron as well. So many of you in here. I'm going to try and whiz through a couple. Elvan, hello, and to Piers. No, not that one. Hello, Piers. Hello to Paul, as always. Bless you for being there. There's some bloke called Dave Rhodes. Won't go there. Also, good afternoon to Keith Rogers. Special day for Keith.
Yay!
Yay.
Special day for Keith. He's retiring.
Why? He's like, 30.
Yeah, I know. I mean, he's only a kid. For goodness
Yes,
sake,
he's a
he must
spry
have.
guy.
He must have made millions, you know. Sure, he did.
He sent me a very nice message last night, so thank you, Keith.
Did he?
Yes.
Was he
That's what
after?
I'm saying.
Was he after a fiver in the post?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
No, he's got millions. He doesn't need. He'd have got millions. He doesn't need
No,
to buy them.
that's true.
He's
Uh,
got glass that though, that Keith. He really is.
I would say happy retirement, Keith, but I remember when my late father retired. I've never seen a man so busy. He was working harder when he was retired than when he was at work. For goodness sake. And at 70 years old, he still used to go out and deliver food parcels to the old people.
That's so nice.
Yeah. Ian says, I found out why I did not get tested was because they forgot to send me the kit so that I could send back samples to check back. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I get that. But anyway, I know what you mean, Keith. I've been tested twice now. Is it twice or 3 times? I don't know. Steve's stuck in his sick bed again. The poor guy's got a bad head. Whew.
I thought he got a bad back.
Was it a bad... No, he had migraine as well.
Oh,
The
that's
other day
the
he said he'd
worst.
done his back in.
Yeah, horrible. Get well soon, Steve, says Ian. And Steve wants to know...
And all of us.
And all of us as well. And Steve
Yeah.
wants to know what Keith is retiring from. He's not. We're not going to let him retire, Steve. It's not happening. Not a chance. I'll just find him jobs to do.
Sounds
Sim-
like a plan.
So simple as that. If he thinks he's going to loll around and do nothing, you got no chance, mate. Absolutely no chance in a million of years. Sorry about my spelling. It's rubbish. Ian, don't worry. Don't worry.
We know what you mean.
Yeah. I mean, let's face it. The only reason I can read some of the stuff in the studio is because it's black letters on white screens. And that's because moi is dyslexic. So don't worry about your spelling. Mine's terrible. My eldest daughter is also dyslexic as well. But there we go. So don't worry about it, mate. I'm with you all the way. I can't spiel either. Never works for me. I suppose we've got to do some of the newsy topics, not that I wish to. But
Do we have to?
shall we forget?
Yes, we do.
Do
Can
we?
we just talk about inane stuff?
Yeah.
We have to. No, we have to do a couple because it's
Okay.
it's not just a regular news week. Let's face it. So we must, even though we don't want to. It's our job to.
Yes, this is true. Well, do you want to go first with the subject I know you're going to talk about? I've written it on a piece of paper, fingers crossed, and I guarantee it'll be this.
Which one?
Who are you talking to at this point?
Rachel.
All right.
Oh, well, clearly, the nonsense going on in the United States of America needs to be discussed. But I'm just, I was watching this unfold on CNN, and I thought to myself, what is happening? Why? And I don't want to start a big argument, and I really don't. And I'm not going to say, Trump versus the rest of the normal world or anything inflammatory like that. But the thing that struck me the most, and it's been brought up a lot, is if there was a mass protest being organised, which this was for ages, why didn't they set up for it to begin with when Black Lives Matter protests were in Washington? The National Guard was there in really huge numbers, and at the time when there was just peaceful protests in the street, they were getting gassed and pushed back so that His Royal Orangeness could have a photo in front of a church holding a Bible that was upside down.
Yeah.
Now, there's a major disconnect there. It's a huge disparity, and that's the thing that's offended me the most, I think. But the other thing that baffled me was you've just reached a milestone of over 4,000 dead in a day due to this pandemic. get it together. The good news is we only have 12 more days of this nutter, and then, they can all slink off in their merry way, and whether there or not there'll be prosecutions and a potential impeachment, who knows. But it's 12 more days, fellas. Just white knuckle it and then start fixing stuff that's just been completely destroyed and broken.
Yeah, I get where you're saying, Rach, but I have to add to that a lot of the people that went on that protest were not from Washington. They weren't from New York. They weren't from the northern end of America. They were from the southern belts. And if you've been down to the southern areas, they've got a very different view on life to the more cosmopolitan areas in the north of the USA. And what worries me at the moment is there is a rift. I'm convinced of that. There is a rift. And how Joe Biden is going to repair that rift, I have no idea. I just don't see it.
He's inherited a complete mess.
Yeah.
And they have got such a huge problem with this pandemic on their hands. It's getting out of control by day, purely because it was mismanaged to begin with.
Well,
but
there is
he's
that.
inherited a colossal mess. He's inherited an absolute nightmare. He and his VP have inherited just almost a place that's gone to it's anarchy. It's scary. It's what it is. It's scary.
Yeah, I don't know what this means, Axel, because I'm not sure, but perhaps Dave knows. I get the first bit. America's gone cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Oh yes, I get that reference.
No, I don't.
Would you like to share with the crowd?
Yes.
Yes, I will. And Axel's going to be dead impressed because I'm an Australian and shouldn't know anything, but it's a phrase that's been coined for years, and it's somebody has gone cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, and that was an ad on TV about a Cocoa Puffs cereal.
Oh, the Kellogg's one.
Right.
Yeah.
So they coined the phrase "I'm cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs," and I've gone nuts for this cereal. It's fantastic.
Ah, right.
And that's where that phrase has been coined. In fact, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm fairly certain I'm not.
Oh, I mean, I'd never have slept without knowing that today.
See, you learn something new every day, and anybody says you don't is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Yes, well, staying with America for a minute, because I needed a tenuous link, I'm going to break some exclusive news.
What?
Because we've actually... Dave's going to laugh now, because he knows a bit. Anyway...
We talked about this on air, I think.
Well, we nearly did, but now we've done it.
Oh, right.
Yes, because I can give you the start times and dates as well now.
Oh, exciting.
Yes. Coming out of America is, I can't remember how many, I think it had something like 70 or 80 million listeners per day. And that is the Voice of America, equivalent of the BBC World Service and the Australian Broadcasting International Service as well, same thing. Coming out of Washington is the lovely Larry London with Border Crossings, and it will start this coming Monday at 1700 CET, or 4 in the afternoon in the UK, or something o'clock in the very early hours of the morning in Australia. With Border Crossings, it is a daily phone in, or you can Facebook, you can do this, that, to get in touch with Larry. And it is a global request and dedication show. It will be on RTI 5 days a week, an hour a time. And we're just chuffed that the VOA thought we were good enough to have it. Which is a bit
That's cool, man. That's really. I might ring up. I'll have to set my alarm.
Well,
but I'll do it. I'll ring up and go. Good morning.
And I just think it's wonderful that as Larry's, you'll be able to read it on the website and things soon. Larry refers to the family of Border Crossings and it's the same thing with our family. So it's just a wonderful thing. And he is a wonderful broadcaster. He's a fantastic one. I first came across him in the 1980s. Brilliant guy, absolutely brilliant. And he has a piratical background as well.
Nice. That's what we like.
Yeah, we like that. Axel says Joe Biden is just the fall guy for America. I get.
You mean he's Lee Majors?
Stop it.
No.
Sorry.
Yes. I've horrible to say, he probably is, and I don't know if he's got enough energy to bring this lot back together. That's all.
I think he does. I think he really. I know. I've been watching this intently for the last however many months. I do think he has the energy. I think he's been reinvigorated by this whole process, and because he has a strong sense of wanting to get business back to normal and the way politics should be handled and the way the three branches should be handled. And I think he can be really hugely invigorated by Kamala Harris, knowing that he picked her as the VP. Smart pick.
Yeah.
Because she'll be the next president. You watch. And I'm saying it here right now. I'm throwing my money on the table, and I think he's invigorated enough to withstand this weather this storm. And I think getting to the other side of the nonsense will invigorate him even more. I don't think he's withered at all. He looks old, and he looks like an old man who yells at traffic. But that's
there's nothing wrong with that though.
But I have dubbed him, and this is, I don't throw this honour upon anybody, just anybody, but I have dubbed him Uncle Joe.
That's quite a compliment, actually, for Mr. Biden.
Mm-hmm.
That is. News flash from Marcus. UK has approved the Moderna vaccine.
Which is the American vaccine. It has 94% efficiency against COVID-19, and we've ordered, the UK's ordered 7 million doses, although it's unlikely to be available until March.
Hey, just a question. You guys, you might be able to answer this for me? We're hearing a little bit about it now in Australia because it has actually reached us, and now they have locked down Greater Brisbane, which is in Queensland, for those who don't know, for a big, hard 3-day lockdown now to get it under control. It's the new strain, and it turned up from the UK. And
no, not just the UK.
Oh,
it's
not just it. So it's Europe as well, or?
No, there's different strains coming up from. One is allegedly from the USA, but I haven't been able to research it properly, so I can't say it's for definite. There is one from South Africa. There are other strains coming up from other places in Europe, but what these stupid Jays keep doing is they don't get it. A virus mutates permanently, and it keeps doing it all the time until you kill it. And so therefore, it's not relevant to say, oh, it's the, I don't know, the Orkney Islands, something or other. It's just wrong. It's miles away.
Because where this came from, Uncle Eric, with a case that they've discovered in Brisbane, and was actually from a returned traveller from the UK, and they were in hotel quarantine.
Yep.
And a maid caught it, a cleaner caught it, which is 9 times out of 10 where it comes from is some poor person having to work in that situation and they get sick.
Yeah.
But I thought, what is this terrible new strain, and why is everybody so terrified?
Yeah. The reason people are so terrified of this thing, it's not that it actually is proven to give you a harder time if you catch it. But what it's enabled the virus to do is become easier to transmit. The transmittability, Christ, that's a good word for me.
That's a great word.
Yeah, the transmittability of the virus is stronger with the new strain, and that makes sense. Because scientifically, viruses seem to know how to do that. How they do that, I don't exactly know, but they do.
They adapt.
They adapt. And that's where the big problem is. And Paul was asking if we would talk about COVID for a minute. And also, he wants this.
2, 3. Wash your hands, It just takes 20 seconds. Wash your hands, your hands. It's for your own protection. No exceptions, no objections. You'll make such a nice impression. No infection if you only wash your hands. And you're done.
There you go. That's especially for Paul today. Keith Rogers says it's a good idea to give him lots of jobs to do. And Axel says, yes, that's how they get the black woman in the office. Well, that's not a bad thing, is it?
No.
No.
Everybody needs to be in the office. The black, the brown, the yellow, the white, the green. No more orange.
Even the purple people eaters.
Yeah, everybody needs. It should be allowed for everybody. If they're capable of doing the job and they're representing their constituency, then what's the problem?
Yeah. Mitchell says the government only wants us to go out for essential items. That's true. And I will add at this point, and I think we mentioned it the other day, Dave, that one of the towns near to us, a place called Nitra, has actually been closed. You can't go in or out of the place. It is in 100% lockdown because the infection rate, the R rate, was so high. Now, Mitchell adds, we know we can't visit friends or family unless they're in the bubble. The clothes shop are shut. So apart from exercise, why would anybody else want to go out? Unless it was for something essential. And I agree with you, mate. It's just logic. My and I can't remember the exact wording of it, but my daughter shared a post with me this morning, young Katie, and it was just on the money. It was spot on the money. You know, you don't have to worry about this, that, and the other as long as you do this, this, and this. And it would make sense, for crying out loud, if people did what the governments, not just one government. It's not the UK or America or Australia. It's the whole planet that needs to do it. And not that I'm saying that China's got it right, because I'm not. Because we don't know, is the problem with China. It's always the same. We don't actually know. But they have locked everywhere down. And it would appear that the newer strains are being held off. And you know, it's one of those sort of things that if you do that, you can save people. And, you know, what's more important than saving lives, for goodness sake? It's the only...
Nothing.
There's nothing worth any more than saving people's lives. Mitchell...
The message your Katie sent out this morning said, just want to make this point in case people haven't realised it yet. The longer you don't comply with the social distancing, the longer we're going to have to do it.
Correct.
Right. She's bang on.
She actually nailed it in one little or couple of sentences. Axel says America is a laughing stock to other countries. I get why it's the butt of jokes, Axel, but I think a lot of people see through it and are more worried about the split in America than you know, the odd one thing. And it was terrible. I get it, but the reality is that they're more worried about the split in America than the day-to-day trumping along of somebody, because that's not important, because that scenario is finished or as good as. But it's the split that's the worry, and you never want to see a country split like that. And it tends to be these narcissist types that end up creating that. And if they create splits, it's, you know, that's worrying. Mitchell says, I need sugar. Is that essential? Yes. Yes.
You're going to the grocery to get your basic staples is essential.
Yeah, it's no problem, Mitchell. It's no problem at all.
Sugar, chocolate, fizzy drinks.
No.
Food is food, and you're allowed to go and get it.
Yeah.
What's that? Food? Why people want to go out? I don't get that. There was bits flashed up on me. Facebook's been playing up all day today.
Yes, a message popped up on my screen, but it's disappeared.
Yes.
How very odd.
I know.
Oh, here we go.
It's back again.
It's gone again.
Yes,
it popped up and it's gone.
Yes.
Aliens.
It's from Steve Mann. I don't know what he's trying to tell us. Evidently, it's something. It's evidently something quite Worrying.
Yes.
Yes.
We also think that beer, alcohol, and wine are essential here as well.
Well, they did here too.
Really?
One of the few places that was open, I couldn't go take Gordy to get him a haircut and a bath
Right.
because dogs are so dangerous. But but you could go to what you call I believe the off license.
Yep.
And get and get your beers and your wine and everything else. That was still all available and also available to be delivered.
Yep. The ciggy shops here, which are called Tabac, they're all open as well. Here we go. Why it started coming back again?
Oh my word!
Why people would want to go out now is confusing to me. It is.
Yeah, me too.
It is too scary. Axel's agreeing with the Steve there as well. There is something that there is some button somewhere we're not pushing to get people to realise how darn dangerous this is. And if we can find that button, and I don't know, maybe you guys should sing "Wash Your Hands" to your friends. And I know it's going to be a bit of a laugh, but the truth is that message needs to be shared more and more and more. And I remember debating this with people before, that they go, "Oh, why are you still doing this? And why are you doing, the keep talking messages?" And I said, quite simply, it ain't going away until everybody gets it.
Don't you think everybody's suffering from fatigue from it all, though?
Yeah,
because
for
it's been
sure.
going on for so long.
True.
And the thing with it is, and when it comes down to it, I think it's 1 in 100 people in the UK have got it now. I think that's what the
could
stat
be.
was. Don't quote me on that. But unless you actually know somebody that's had it, or is suffering from it, or is in hospital from it, then the reality isn't really there.
The thing
And
is
so
about
people
that,
people just
100
sort of ignore it.
100%, Dave, absolutely 100%. And our numbers have, in relative terms, haven't been terrible. We're actually very lucky, and I'm honestly grateful today to be an Australian and living in relative safety. But I think things don't go away just because you want them to.
No.
And I think that people need to get their heads around, even if they don't believe they will get sick, or they don't know anybody who's sick, or they don't care, or they don't think they're going to catch it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to be in lockdown forever?
Well,
So,
that is that's the burning question.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. They don't consider they are because they're going out.
Well, yeah, and I mean, in some ways, Keith is just right in what he just said. The split in America is very worrying. I hate to say this, but suspect there is, or there was, a Black Lives Matter demo that stormed the building instead of Trump's rent-a-crowd. There would have been a great difference if that had have happened, and
100%.
more fatal consequences. And you're 100% right, Keith.
100%.
Yeah, you're spot on, mate. And when you get to this situation of there's a thin line, and it is a thin line between love and hate, and it works in this scenario as well, where I will say there's a thin line between tolerance and hate. And the tolerance is where you accept everybody. The hate is quite simply the hate. And, it is difficult in certain areas of certain countries where parts of the community they think they're having a bad time. The other side of the community is going, why do they get all the help then? And that's the split that you've got to get rid of. So it's both ways. Number one, you can't have a chip on your shoulder from either side, because if you do, then you have problems. If the chips got away, perfect. And one lot and the other lot mustn't say, oh, you're more advantaged than me. No, I'm sorry, I don't buy that. If everybody just worked and got on with life in a 2021 way, then, life would be much better. And it's always been there. It's been the same since the race riots in the 70s and the 60s in the US. People have got to say, oh, I'm pushed down. Get on with it and get up. The new
Do
world.
something about it, and
Yeah.
do it in a productive and helpful way. The thing that's concerning about these people, in particular, these extremists, is that they believe all sorts of nonsense. And in my experience, you can't reason with the unreasonable, and you can't throw logic at illogical. There's just no way they're going to.
Quite simply, they're narcissists. Simple.
Yeah.
They are. Because what they've done is, from a small acorn of pain, they've created a volcano of pain. And by doing so, they become in charge. Then, look at me, I'm the big guy. No, you're not. You're actually a wimp. You're actually a wimp.
And a bully.
And a bully as well. We'll take some more of your messages here, because we have got lots and lots and lots of them. People say, why should they obey the rules when the great and good don't? Bernard Castle, anyone? Just because he puts his fingers in the fire, you don't have to. I mean,
No,
the bloke was a complete plonker.
It's madness. It really is.
It is madness, but why do you have to follow suit? You should be bigger than these other people who do the wrong things, attack people, slag people off, the J people especially, because you've got your own mind. You can make up what you want to do. You don't have to sit there and go, oh, well, he's done it, I'm going to do it. Because it comes back to the same thing, fingers in the fire. Simple as that. Yep. The more recent COVID figures in the UK is 1 in 50, which is scary. Oh.
It's very, very scary, and they've got a lot of work to do in a really big hurry, and they haven't been able to roll out their vaccine program as quickly as they would have liked to.
Mm-hmm.
But I think now that they're moving to the end of this absolute calamity of a presidency into a new one, I think maybe they might be able to get it rolled out quicker. There'll be a bit more organisation. It's all been a bit haphazard, but they do need to get on with it. Those numbers coming out of the US are really frightening and horribly sad.
I've got a quick message for the YouTubers. YouTube guys, if you're messaging, I can't see them in the studio at the moment. You need to pop across to Facebook, and we are RTI Radio on Facebook, so it's facebook.com/RTI Radio, and that's where you can put your comments on the live chat room at the moment. But we have so many screens up at the moment, it is rather ridiculous. There you go. If you think that's bad, says Axel, wait the next 4 years and see what happens then every 4 years. That is the worrying thing, Axel. That is the worrying thing. Because whether you think, and being quite straight about this, the election was close in America. Whichever way you want to look at it, it was close. And therefore, if Mr. Biden struggles a bit, those floating voters could float back to the right. And that could let Trump back in again.
But we've had Republican... No, it can't. He won't go back in again. There's no way. There's no way that'll happen. And if they
but what about his missus?
Hey?
What about his missus coming back?
Oh, she's just barely been locked out of the cupboard. She's been blinking for our assistants for years. She'll run them off. But I didn't know this, but I've been watching the television and getting a bit of an education from lawyers and such who know what they're talking about in terms of constitutional law in the United States. And they were talking about this, let's impeach him, let's chuck him out, let's invoke the 25th,
the
25th
Amendment.
And my view was, or my idea was, or my thoughts were, how is there possibly time? It's 12 days left. You can't possibly get this done. But what I discovered today is if they bring an impeachment into the House, that's controlled by the Democrats, and they'll wheel that along really quickly.
Yeah.
They can still have this process going after he has left office, and once he's left office, between the 15th and the On the 26th of January, you've got these two senators from Georgia who are Democrat, and the Democrats hold the power in the Senate and the House. They can still move forward with impeachment, and if it goes through, even after he's left, it means he can, if that succeeds, he can never run for office again.
That's true. No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely spot on, Rach. That is the rules and regs over there of what can be done. I thought it was the 5th. My mistake. Which one? Says Steve. The 25th. It is the 25th. And they can rush that through in incredibly quick time in America. They
Very
really
fast in the House.
Yeah,
Super fast.
it is a matter of days as opposed to months. And now he can moan about it and do lawsuits and all the rest of it. But the fact is that with the Democrats in charge, as Rachel said, by 2 votes, it doesn't matter because they just roll it through. It's as simple as that. Steve hasn't checked the news today. Did bad things happen overnight? I'll ask Dave.
No, it was all great.
It was all great, was it?
No, it's all been reasonably quiet, to be entirely honest.
Was it?
A useless piece of information. Anybody arriving in the UK from next week
Scotland
must have a negative COVID test that has been taken in the previous 72 hours or
they
less.
Should, for ages, they should have. In fact, they shouldn't be letting anybody in there at all.
Exactly.
No,
and
that-
if you
don't
fail
forget-
to comply, that's 500 quid. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and you can't go in the
more.
country either. You get chucked out.
No.
Yeah, and that is, by the way, for Scotland as well. I haven't heard from Wales or Northern Ireland yet, but it was jointly done by England and Wales, and that makes me sad. When we have to say England, Scotland, Ireland, and Wales, makes me sad. That it's the UK, for goodness sake. According to Axel, Trump is getting impeached.
Good.
With-
They will, because they haven't been able to convince what's left of the cabinet, and Mike Pence won't do it to invoke the 25th, and that's to have him removed because he's dangerous. Because that's a funny process too. If they try to do that, they have to go to him and say you're not fit to hold office, and he can go, yeah, no, I'm good. And that's it. That's the end. He has to agree he's not fit, and that way he'll be kicked. But there's no way that Nancy Pelosi was going to stand by and let that impeachment ride. She was going to go for it, and she said so from the minute this went down.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Marcus says Scotland is in the UK. I agree. I really do. All this, it's another bunch of people wanting to have little places of control, and it gets annoying after a while. I mean, I get why Czechoslovakia splits into Slovakia and the Czech Republic. I get that, because they are two different people. But for goodness sake, the UK is the UK. Very true, Steve. I totally like this. Anyone who wants to be a politician should have a certificate from an official doctor saying they're fit to hold office.
Yeah, but you know what? That's a very, very cool thing to say, and I agree. However, the loophole is that politicians are big fat liars, and they'll get in front of the doctor and spin all sorts of nonsense.
Yeah.
And the doctor will go, oh, okay, yeah, cool, you're right.
I could just imagine some newspaper people sitting alongside politicians and having a mental health check, and it would be hysterical because neither of them would pass.
Well, I reckon if they can't count to 3, they should be immediately ruled out, which would immediately rule out a lot of people.
Well, why is the mobilisation of vaccines in the UK so bad? They need to learn lessons from other countries not in the EU. No, don't believe what you read in the newspapers because they talk a load of rubbish.
I think you needed to be watching the update last night from Boris and Co. and the Brigadier explaining what has been set up and what is going on.
Am I right in thinking...
And also the fact that they're not actually getting the vaccines in. The problem we've got is we have a supply chain we've got a supply chain to get things into people's arms. We're just waiting for the manufacturers to deliver it to us.
Yeah.
That is the main problem.
Yeah, and it's countries in... I mean, I said this to somebody the other day, and I'm in a kind of a privileged position because although my Slovak's not good, I can get by and I can understand stuff. When if I go home, first place to go is the kitchen because there's food. And Martina will have a laptop on with the latest news from Slovakia, and I kind of get it. And if I say to you, and this is the truth, it really is the truth. Any government at the moment is suffering the same way as the UK, for example. One lot will say, oh, he's doing all right. The other lot goes, oh, he's rotten and horrible and nasty and doing it all wrong. And that's the same across. And I can kind of like pick up a bit of Polish. I can get definitely a bit of Czech. I can do okay in Slovakia. Can't do Hungarian.
You do great in Slovakia. You got me medicine when I was at death's door in a pharmacy. It was epic.
Rachel, don't
tell either of you.
Rachel, don't tell everybody I can do that.
You had to do it. It was emergency.
But yes, but now everybody will think I can do it all the time and I can't be lazy anymore.
It was like the linguistic equivalent of lifting a car off a baby when you're a mother.
Very true. The adrenaline kicked in. Any chance of a quick history lesson about Czechoslovakia and why the countries were named that and da-da-da? We are planning that, Steve, or something like that, because a lot of people want Jan to come back on and do a special with us because he was so inspirational before. And he was a bit kind of overwhelmed by it, to be quite honest. And he said, well, yeah, we can, but we'll have to have a topic. You know, it's got to be all planned. And so we are planning that, and that's something we can ask Jan at that time. So the quick history of Czechoslovakia, I can give you a potted version, which will take no more than 2 minutes, in that Czechoslovakia was only formed in 1918 after the end of the First World War. And that was actually done in America, believe it or not, because before that it was the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Then obviously the Second World War came along and there was all sorts of problems. Then the idiot communists took over until 89. And at that point, Czechoslovakia got its freedom back. And then in 92, Slovakia and the Czech Republic said, look, come on, guys, we've got a parliament there, blah, 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 let's just get on with it. And so they did. You know, it was the sweetest separation I've probably ever heard of. So, you know, it's an amazing history of a country. And I've often said, for 1,000 years, the people here were all told, no, you can't do that. You're not allowed. And then, you know, when they get their freedom, it's an amazing thing. But we'll get Jan to do the proper history. I'll make a note of that and get him to do it. How come Israel isn't having a problem? 15% vaccinated so far, with 3 weeks between jabs. It's a smaller country.
I was going to say, there's only 8.884 million people in Israel as opposed to the 66.65 million in the UK.
Yeah.
And the size of Israel is only 22,145 kilometres squared, where it is 242,495 kilometres squared in the UK. This was also covered last night, and they actually said they've looked at how Israel have done their rollout. And they've done it in a way where they only have one type of way of people getting their vaccines by going to one place. The military have looked at the UK and looked at the territory and gone, that's not going to work for us. We need 3 different ways. So there's going to be drive-throughs. There's going to be big centres like the Excel Centre will be a mass vaccination point where you can go. And so there's a whole realm of different reasons why. And Israel model would not work in the UK.
True.
And it's really down to the shape, size, and the facilities that every country's got.
Very true indeed. And as Axel quite rightly has just pointed out, that some of the vaccines were actually spoilt and therefore they were recalled, which kind of messed it up a little bit as well. So you've got
Germany cooked theirs, didn't they?
Yes. So you've got a whole combination of things because, let's face it, guys, I know it seems like forever, but it was March last year. And from March to now, that everybody's had to learn everything. And when if you compare that, sorry, Rach, if you compare that with, say, polio, it took decades to get rid of polio. Decades. And we're trying to get rid of something in under 12 months. And if that is achieved, well, flipping heck.
And even more so, they reckon they're on target to vaccinate over 15 million people by the middle of February in the UK. And that's a remarkable amount of people and arms that have been stabbed to get the jab into them. So the fact that that's going to be in that situation in 11 months, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And then they have to put up with people like me that nearly fall over when they see needles.
Yeah, join the club.
But you just don't look, and you know that you don't even feel them, and don't look, and just remember that it's it's going to save your life, and then that's worth getting a small jab in the arm for. We're not getting ours rolled out until the end of March.
Blimey.
They're still going through a massive amount of pre-approvals. It's not even approved here yet. But having said that, we've got a really small amount of this virus in our country. As I say, we're very, very lucky where I live in Canberra, which is the capital. They haven't had a case here for 130 days or something.
Wow.
And it's like it doesn't even exist. However, when you go to anywhere, they use a QR code system. So you don't have to, but you're asked to zap in and let you know where you've been, so that if they need to contact trace, they can get a hold of you. And there's hand sanitizer everywhere. There's no masks at all. And it's really a very cruisy place to be. That's why every day I wake up and I thank my lucky stars that I live where I do.
Correct.
I'm very grateful, especially after living in Melbourne. That was a nightmare. That was an absolute nightmare. And being separated from my husband for 8 months was a nightmare. And now I'm in a place that we barely know this thing is even a thing. And they're not rolling ours out until the end of March. And it's because they don't need to rush here. There's no need to rush. And basically we're doing it to protect ourselves, but also to protect ourselves when those days come. Oh, and I wish for them dearly for us to be able to travel overseas again. So, that's why the situation is what it is here. But it's funny because do you remember what we were talking about this time last year?
Fires.
Yep.
That half of Australia was on fire. And anybody barely remembers that it happened. Since then, you've got a pandemic and a vaccine, and that is so fast. And I mean, they need to obviously move quicker in some places in terms of getting this vaccine to people. But when you consider how long this has been going on in the Western world, that's quick. That's super quick. That's
absolutely.
Not even 12 months.
And I'm going to cut across your Rach because I know Mitchell has mentioned this before, and he's just mentioned it again, and he is so right. All the listeners, wherever you are in the world, it doesn't matter. Make sure your details are up to date with your GP, phone numbers, etc., so that the doctors and the testing centres can get hold of you at the appropriate time. Because if I'm sorry, guys, but it's on your head if you have the wrong information for your GP to get hold of you. And Steve's also added that he hates needles. And, oh, my word, he has to have 2 long needles into his head twice a year. So if he
that's how they keep your enormous brains alive, so you keep having them.
That's right. Ian's the same as me with needles. I wonder how long it will take to get through the first 4 levels of the injections? I don't know. I really don't know, but I panic about them. In fact, I think it's the only time that Martina has ever really, really like, oh, poor Eric, when I have to go for me half a year thingies, which starts next month, where I will have God knows how many doctors take blood from me to make sure I'm still alive, and I've got a heart.
That's all right, Uncle Eric. I'll send you a nice, a really cool, don't panic, everything's going to be all right, cool meditation thingy that you can put in your ears. No, I'm deadly serious. Deadly serious. For people who are really phobic about things, there's a whole series of them. They're genius. And I use a lot of them for self-hypnosis for sleep and a bunch of stuff for my bipolar disorder. But this one actually will calm you before you have to do that. So you leave it in your ears and listen while you're going through this process, and it will calm you.
Yeah, I mean, most of them are sisters here as opposed to nurses. The sister at the heart doctor, I mean, she's so wonderful, this lady. She has to have about 5 or 6 goes, because and I don't remember, there is a scientific medical term for it, where when they try to get blood from me, my veins just close up. It's weird.
Yeah, they curl up.
Yeah.
They shut down. They go, no, we're not having this needle business.
No.
And they crawl back deep into your arm
Absolutely.
where they can't be detected.
Yeah, it is so weird. And there's one vein which I'm looking at right now on the back of my right hand, which is the best place to get blood from out of me. But she always tries the traditional ways, and she's sort of like rubbing the side of my face, going, "Oh, poor Eric," and I can't do anything about it. I genuinely.
Well, you can. There's one thing you can do as a person who gets to get jabbed on a regular basis, and that sounded ruder than I meant it to. I apologise. I always have I put a heat pack where the vein is that I know they're going to go.
Yep.
And drink a ton of water.
Yeah, I do that.
Pump up your veins, but use the heat pack, Uncle Eric, because it'll make it rise to the surface.
That's a possibility. Axel's worried that martial law will happen in the USA. Steve's agreeing with him, but all hoping that it's wrong. Meadow, hello, just become a fan. Oh, isn't that nice?
Oh, that's a lovely name, Meadow. Yeah. I love that.
That's a really cool name.
It is.
Wow. Okay.
It's lovely.
Yeah, lovely indeed. So, I keep pleading for everybody to do their own little bit, because it doesn't matter what the government is. It doesn't. And the one thing that annoys me a lot, and I know it's going to tick people off, but politics shouldn't be in this thing. It shouldn't. It's not a political issue. There's no brownie points to be achieved by using the political card. No government, whether they're left, middle or right, can actually come up with the right solutions. Maybe in 5 years.
You're right, Uncle Eric. When Melbourne was in lockdown and our state premier was on television every single day for 100 and something days, he didn't miss one single press conference, giving us the numbers and letting us know what's going on. And he said there is no place for politics in a pandemic. And he was absolutely right. So he was working with whoever he had to work with to make everything okay. And that's what people should be doing. There's no place for bargy politics in a pandemic. Do it afterwards.
If you want to do it afterwards and, have a post-mortem about everything that's happened, by all means. But right now, it's up to us, not the politicians. It's up to us. We are the people that can fix this pandemic. Nobody else. Politicians can't fix it. They can give us vaccines. They can throw money at us, which everybody has to pay for anyway. It's not down to the politicians to fix it. We know what the cure is. Don't go mixing with people, because then the virus dies out. It
does.
It just cannot be done by politics. And I think Steve and I are agreeing at that point. Because there's no way that, well, if you think about it logically, how many people are actually in politics and how many people are regular citizens? Now, the regular citizens outweigh the politicians by oodles of percent, thousands and thousands and thousands of percent. So really, it's got to be down to us.
Yep.
Which reminds me, don't forget.
1, 2, 3. Wash your hands, your hands. It just takes 20 seconds. Wash your hands, your hands. It's for your own protection. No exceptions, no objections. You'll make such a nice impression. No infection if you only wash your hands. And you're done.
Don't forget, tell everybody, wash your hands. Really. It's so, and do you know, I can't get my head round that. I really can't. When I was a kid, I think my mum should have had that jingle.
Yes, mine too.
Yeah, because it was always a case you come over and say, wash your hands. And every parent said it. Why are they not saying it now?
I'm actually really lucky, Uncle Eric, because of my bipolar disorder, I've got certain traits that are possibly, linked to obsessive compulsive disorder, and one of them is a constant need to wash my hands. And I remember being in the ladies' room at work in Melbourne, and I was scrubbing my hands like I was getting ready for surgery, but I'd always done it. The girl's like, "You're taking this really seriously." I've always done it. I don't know how to not do it, which is why I don't tend to get things like, flu and head colds unless I'm in a foreign country. Thank you, London. But I don't. I just don't. I don't get sick because of the constant washing of the hands. It's funny, people have not particularly realised, because we've been so focused on COVID, is nobody had flu, which I'm going to ask for my flu jab money back, thanks. And nobody's got a cold because we have been wearing masks and washing our hands and not touching each other.
And funnily enough, the flu epidemic's not there.
That's right. So if you've got cold symptoms or flu symptoms, you've probably got COVID.
Yeah.
So go get a test. It doesn't matter how mild the symptoms are. Go get tested. And then the epidemiologists know where the virus is and what's going on with it. So just go get a test. Wash your hands and get tested.
Yep, there you go. Our US correspondent, Axel's been following up for us and sharing that governors of states in America want to bring in martial law. And I can't...
you can understand their nervousness, can't
Yeah.
you? I mean, because tensions are very high.
Hang on, is that the best quote? I see. Steve said the problem with politicians... Oh, God, it's just gone off my screen. Too many messages. Hold on, guys, I'll get there in a minute. The problem with politicians is they think every problem can be fixed by politics, and it can't. And that's what Keith is saying. He's agreeing with Steve, the best quote of the week. And he's absolutely right.
Yeah.
Absolutely right.
You can't argue with a virus. It's
No.
not going to engage you.
It has no logic at all. The trouble with martial law is the gung-ho attitude they have there, says Mitchell. And Axel says, love the show, RTO. Thank you. And thank you, Axel, for being our US correspondent.
Yeah, I knew Axel would know. Before we even started this conversation, I thought I know I'll have Axel on backup to fact check stuff I say.
Oh, dear. Okay, Axel, we'll do that. We've been asked for a remix, which Axel's going to do, of Wash Your Hands. I'll send it over to you, mate. No problemo at all. None whatsoever. Anyway, we're close to the end and we've got to go. So we'll go back to normality a little bit. This is going to be difficult because Dave's going to say nothing. Paul's off. Bye, Paul.
Bye, Paul.
Yeah, bye, Paul. What are you up to this weekend, Dave?
I'm going to be messing around with my website, making next week's show, and talking to people online because it's good to talk to people.
That's very true. We'll be finishing with that today. Rach?
I will be doing what I do best and what I love the most, and that is purchasing yet another vacuum cleaner. But this time, it'll be one with water, so I can wash things at the same time. And it just plays
good.
right into my wheelhouse.
You're going to be so disgusted when you use that the first time.
No, I won't, because this is a brand new apartment when we moved in. We've only been here for 8 weeks and there's only carpet in the bedroom. So it should come up with basically nothing, but I'll look for stuff.
Yeah.
And I'll do that every week. You just wait and see. I'll send you some footage.
Done deal. And we'll do the other questions from Steve. Axel, just let Steve know what's the best American news source. NPR, I would suggest. Something
Depends
like,
who you believe.
yeah, he says something like they're easy to be believed, NPR, because they don't have an axe to grind. But there you go. Anyway, it's bye from us. We're going to leave you with the voiceovers saying, keep talking. There you go.
RTI.
Hello.
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 Is there anybody out there?
Can you hear me?
How are you doing?